Well, now joining us is State Representative Gina Hinojosa. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
And you made a huge announcement this Wednesday. You are now running for governor of Texas. First question here, why are you running for the state's top position?
We need a governor of Texas who prioritizes the needs of Texans as opposed to the billionaire class, which is what we're seeing Governor Greg Abbott do.
Okay. In the State House, in your time there, you've been very outspoken about public education policy. If you do become governor, what kind of priorities would you have as a governor? I know education is probably big for you, but what other things would you like to address?
Affordability is a big issue for Texans right now. We know that many Texans, too many Texans, can't afford basic health care. For instance, in Texas, our uninsured rate is 2 times the national average. We can fix this. We can put over 1 million more Texans on health insurance if we simply accept those federal funds that Texans have already paid to the federal government to cover our health insurance. Greg Abbott has refused to do that, and Texans are less healthy, and Texans are not getting essential health care that they need, sometimes to survive because of that decision.
You're launching your campaign in Brownsville. Border and immigration, of course, are some important issues for Texas voters. I'm curious to know, how would you approach border security, balancing that with humanitarian treatment of migrants who cross the border here in Texas?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned humanitarian treatment, because that is essential for how we treat all human beings with dignity, respecting their lives. And at the same time, we need to have a safe and secure border. In any kind of immigration policy, we need to treat those who have roots in our community, who are essential parts of our community, who have families here. There are many mixed status families. We need to treat them differently, give them an opportunity if they are providing for their family, if they are law abiding, give them a chance to earn legalization here. They're different from people who are just coming here, and it was the caravans that we saw over the years that were making the border unstable. Those situations should be treated differently, and absolutely we need to ensure that our border is secure.
Okay. Why is right now the right moment for you to run for governor? You've served almost a decade in the State House. Why is now? Why are you picking right now to choose to run for governor?
Well, I never wanted to be a politician. I made my husband promise to never run for office before we got married, but when my son's school was threatened for closure, I got mad. I was just a mad mom, and I ran for the school board. Won there. The big issue that I found there is the state's not giving our public schools the money that they should, the money that we pay into for property taxes. And so as a result, schools across the state are closing. Now, after a decade in the Texas House, I've come to understand that the biggest problem we have in Texas is Greg Abbott's corruption. Because he is prioritizing his donors, Texans aren't getting the investments in the things that they need. And until we have a governor who puts Texans first, we will never have the Texas that we deserve.
So is Greg Abbott your impetus to throw your hat in the ring here?
He is, but my real desire here is to serve Texans. We're all looking for our highest use in this moment of history, and I have decided that running to be governor of Texas is the right path for me.
Well, speaking of our governor, if you do win the Democratic nomination in March, you would likely face a political juggernaut in Governor Greg Abbott. He has won very easily in his bids for his seat right now. What would your strategy be? How would you be able to take on Governor Greg Abbott after he has won these previous elections in landslides?
Texans are ready for change. That's what I'm hearing all across this state. And Greg Abbott owns a record that is not good for Texas, with schools in crisis shutting down all over this state, with healthcare unaffordable, with housing unaffordable. Those are things that Greg Abbott owns. He does not deserve an unprecedented 4th term as Texas governor. It's time for change, and that's why I'm running.
We have a question about sort of our political environment. Things have become very bitter on a national scale, at a local scale. It's Republicans versus Democrats, us versus them. How do you approach this in a campaign where you're going against somebody that you've been outspoken with before? How do you address the divisiveness of politics in the environment that we're in right now? But also, you're able to, campaign against somebody and try to prove that you're the right person for the job. How do you balance that approach?
It's always important to me to be honest in what I'm speaking about. And the facts speak for themselves when it comes to Greg Abbott. So much so that many of my best allies when it comes to fighting for our public schools are MAGA moms who have joined with me to say no more privatization of our public school dollars, because that is a big grift. And so I'm happy to work with Democrats or Republicans to do what is right for Texans.
Anything else you'd like to add about this?
I don't think so.
Okay, great. Gina Hinojosa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
I appreciate
you.
it.